At an event held in May 2019, we celebrated the naming of the Edward Bunker Prize in Fiction by hosting a preview reading of our 2019 Prison Writing Fiction Award winners, capped with a panel exploring Edward Bunker's legacy. A longtime friend, actor Danny Trejo, do folks know who he is? Some people do, some people don't, maybe. You gotta look him up if you don't. Danny Trejo recalled his days on the set of Runaway Train, where Trejo had been hired as a drug counselor to keep a featured actor clean. When somebody asked him to be an extra in the film, Trejo asked, "Extra what?" And I'm not going to do the justice that hearing him does. "Can you act like a convict?" the man asked. And Trejo continued, "I thought about my past. Soledad Prison, San Quentin, Folsom, Susanville, Vacaville, and I said, I'll give it a shot." Edward, or Eddie as friends called him, who was one of Runaway Train's screenwriters, remembered Trejo from his days winning boxing matches at San Quentin Prison, where Eddie had previously served as the captain's clerk while incarcerated. They started catching up. "They're gonna give me $50 for acting like a convict," Trejo said, sharing with our audience, and we both kind of laughed because we'd been doing it for free for a long time. Eddie offered Trejo his first job teaching an actor to box for $320 a day, and the rest was history. Trejo was ushered into Hollywood, and Eddie became Trejo's mentor. Aside from helping Trejo understand how to work successfully on a movie set, Eddie offered sage advice and humility. "The whole world can think you're a movie star, but you can't." Trejo's humorous story offers us just a small glimpse of writer, screenwriter, and actor Edward Bunker's extraordinary legacy, which grew from humble beginnings. Like many of the writers who reach out to the PEN America Prison and Justice Writing Program, Eddie was involved with the justice system for decades before finding significant success as an author. In fact, his writing career began while incarcerated, typing on the same prison-sanctioned Swintech clear plastic typewriter that our award-winning writers still use today. In 1973, after 17 years of trial and error, Eddie finally landed a deal from behind the walls with No Beast So Fierce, a novel about a paroled man struggling with the reentry process, and it was published as his literary debut. I'll read a quote from it to honor Eddie tonight. "I sat on the littlest toilet at the rear of the cell, shining the hideous bulb-toed shoes that were issued to those being released. Through my mind ran an exultant chant, 'I'll be a free man in the morning.' But for all the exultation, the joy of leaving after 8 calendars in prison was not unalloyed. My goal in buffing the Adley shoes was not so much to improve their appearance as to relieve tension. I was more nervous in facing release on parole than I had been upon entering so long ago. It helped slightly to know that such apprehensiveness was common, though often denied, by men to whom the world outside was increasingly vague as the years passed by. Enough years in prison, and a man would be as ill-equipped to handle the demands of freedom as a Trappist monk thrown into the maelstrom of New York City. At least the monk would have his faith to sustain him, while a former prisoner would possess the memory of previous failure, of prison, and the incandescent awareness of being an ex-convict, a social outcast." 5 years later, this book, No Beast So Fierce, became the movie Straight Time, starring Dustin Hoffman. Eddie went on to write numerous books, some of which have been adapted into major motion pictures featuring prominent actors such as Eric Roberts, Jon Voight, Steve Buscemi, and others. And he was a screenwriter on Straight Time, Runaway Train, and Animal Factory. He also appears on screen, which is how some of you might know him, as an actor in a number of films, most famously as Mr. Blue in Reservoir Dogs. With a list of accomplishment that the vast majority of writers could only dream of, on that May 19 panel, we asked who was this baffling character of Edward Bunker. Jennifer Steele, Eddie's wife, shared about his incredible perseverance. He was in prison without a mother or a father or anyone else, she said. He sold his blood to get his papers outside and to get his work published. He had this incredible reach and drive to make something good and lasting come of these incredible circumstances. Of course, Eddie was a crime writer and combed his own dramatic life experience to propel his realistically rendered stories. A New York Times article quoted Eddie, who said in an interview, "It has always been as if I carry chaos with me, the way others carry typhoid. My purpose in writing is to transcend my existence by illuminating it." We see that very energy, drive, and purpose in so many of our writers who win the Prison Writing Awards. The PEN America Edward Bunker Prison Writing Prize in Fiction is a profound addition to our long history of work with and advocacy on behalf of incarcerated writers, and we are deeply grateful to the family of Edward Bunker for supporting PEN America's Prison and Justice Writing Program. Brendan, Eddie's son, shared with our audience during the panel, "I know he's really happy looking down on us." We like to think so too. I didn't know Eddie's story before his family reached out to us, so I was so happy to get to share that incredible tale with you all. And FYI, that panel is on our Works of Justice podcast, and it is so worth listening to Jenny Trejo tell these stories. You just got a preview from me. And with that, I'm going to invite up Sean Leonardo to read one of our third prize, I believe, winning pieces of fiction for this prize. Thank you.